Jimmy Patronis is a fourth-generation Floridian. His family owns Captain Anderson's seafood restaurant in Panama City. They
Everybody's
are
been there.
Major players. It is an extraordinary, huge, very popular place during all hours of the day, almost impossible to get in. And people like me who are used to being able to call Jimmy when we're up in the neighborhood probably won't be able to do that for the next 8 years. We're probably gonna have to wait in line with all the other hungry folks. He started in the family restaurant business, filling ketchup jars, and graduated with a degree in restaurant management from Gulf Coast College, has a bachelor's degree in political science from FSU. He's done internships in both the Florida Senate, the United States, the United Kingdom, House of Commons. He has, among other things, served on Florida's Public Service Commission, the recent Constitutional Review Commission. Fred Karlinski gave us a briefing earlier on that process. He's been a great leader in the business community and philanthropic community in Panama City and in much of the Gulf Coast. And of course, was elected to the legislature where he served with distinction from 2006 to 2014. And this past year, he was named as our good friend Jeff Atwater went to take a really prestigious position with his local university to become Chief Financial Officer. So number one, welcome, and let us know your thoughts on what's going on, and you and I will do a little Q&A, and we're just really grateful for your leadership.
Well, thank you, Speaker, for having me, and thank y'all all for being so helpful and supportive over the years, especially to AIF. I'm humbled. I've got 3 Champion of Business awards, and I really mean an awful lot to me when you are, is that Charlie Stone? Hey, yeah. What's going on? When you work hard on a piece of legislation, and as you're working through the process, and you've got friends that are bringing up advocates and helping educate the legislator on how the bill is making a difference, it becomes a real team effort. And you know, I got these fantastic awards, which I treasure, but I didn't do it alone. I did it because of all of the stakeholders and advocates and partners, most of which are in this room, that help move legislation along, that helped make a difference in the states. You know, the most recently was the permitting process, and it's not that we ever tried to change how a state's permit is issued, but just create greater reliability and predictability and expectations of just turnaround time. And anyway, it's been a lot of fun. I had 8 years in the legislature, and I thought I wanted more, and Katie said that 8 was enough, so I came home. And then the Public Service Commission came up as an opportunity. I asked Katie if it was okay. She said it was. So we spent a couple years regulating utilities, and it was fascinating because that's a lot what I get to see and feel now. I mean, regulating utilities is a lot like regulating an insurance company. They're utility. You got to have them, but you need reliability and predictability. You need to be able to have reasonable growth to take place. So as I've kind of taken my new job as serious as I can, I've also learned I'm kind of like the state's business manager. I keep the trains running on time. I get to pay all the bills. I write all the paychecks. I even get to regulate the funeral home industry. So there's this hodgepodge that has all been clustered under the CFO's office, and it has been the honor of a lifetime to be able to do it. I did ask Katie for permission when the governor asked me if it was okay, and she did say it was okay. And then I told her, I said, we'll probably mount a campaign, and it will be very taxing. I had no idea that meant traveling on the road 6 days a week. We've done 75,000 miles since November. We've raised $5.2 million. Very fortunate that we were able to get by without a primary. And now just keep our fingers crossed that we do everything right and have an uneventful 55 days and celebrate in November.
Well, of course, our organization was proud to endorse you some month or so ago. I forgot to ask Judge Moody, as she travels the state for the first time in politics, You're in the, county or two away from the famous Possum Festival. I forgot to ask her whether she was there this year, and I remember my first experience there. How many Possum Festivals have you been to?
So one.
And should people eat at Captain Anderson's before they go eat possum, or the other way around?
So the good thing about it is, shame on me. I've never been to the Possum Festival.
Oh, okay.
But I've also.
You want an old Yankee to show you around?
Yeah, well, you were running statewide. I was running statewide also, but I also had a family at home that hadn't seen me that weekend. So Katie, I had the option of hanging out with Katie and the boys because I hadn't seen them go to the Possum Festival. So I enjoyed the family time. But I know the Possum Festival is a rite of passage. It'll get me at some point or another, hopefully. So.
The biggest consumers of the insurance product, which you regulate in the state of Florida, are employers, and they all need insurance of all sorts. And we've had a lot of conversations about workers' comp and assignment of benefits. One of the challenges is that we want good actors to be protected and to be part of your team as you protect the health of the insurance industry. Because every one of our employers can't grow, expand, they can't invest capital wisely unless they are protected for disasters and serious problems. So they have to have that risk allocation properly allocated. And the problem is, as the biggest purchasers of insurance, the business community ends up bearing the brunt of abuse by bad actors. So, on behalf of the good actors in the business community and the insurance arena, what will your goals be in general to enforce, through your enforcement mechanisms, enforce the law against people that are abusing and just for their own selfish purposes, commissions or fees, legally or in some cases, but illegally in others? What do you hope to do to help contain the costs of insurance so that people are paying for the risk that they actually need to transfer to an insurer, but not paying for abuse and unnecessary proceedings and in the system?
So our office, we do all insurance fraud for the state. In the past year, we've made over 700 arrests, over 700 prosecutions of various ways of people gaming the insurance system that ultimately drives up rates. Legislatively, though, we've got to have some solutions. There's a real problem when you've got an AOB epidemic that in 2006 had spawned some 400 odd assignment of benefits related lawsuits in the state of Florida. You fast forward to this most recent year and we broke 26,000. You just don't do that without some type of exploitation of an insurance program or insurance product that's available on the market. So, and the solution isn't always just to raise rates and get rate in order to fix the problem. We've got to have a legislative fix. I love my colleagues that I got to serve with, and there's a lot of them still there. But we did not have meaningful AOB reform. I don't even think we had a meaningful conversation about it over the last 2 years. So hopefully, Senator Galvano, President-elect Galvano, has made a commitment to me that AOB will be solved this year. But it takes every single one of you in the room that are needing a resolution also to hold the legislature accountable. And you are all advocates of your businesses and your industries. And it's easy if you allow the legislature to pass a watered down, non-effective legislation, they will take that path if you let them. I was there, okay? And if you want significant, meaningful change, it's no different than what we had to deal with years ago with unemployment compensation. We could not have this, quadruple digit spike on employers trying to deal with the unfunded liability we had to the federal government. So, you've got to have an outcry. You've got to be commanding. You've got to be demanding. And I'm going to be there. I'm going to be fussing. But, I'm one that I will take the data and information that we've got in our possession. I get notified about every single lawsuit that is filed in this state. And you got to rub it in their face. You've got to be an advocate for what is going to ultimately lower rates for citizens of the state of Florida. And I'm a big believer in the restaurant business. My philosophy always was that we had 200 employees, 75 of which were waitresses. And if those waiters and waitresses, all I wanted to do at the end of the night is I wanted to look at their report of their sales. But most important is I wanted to look at what they got collected in tips. And as I looked at what they had collected in tips, if they're doing well, hell, the restaurant's fine. Okay? It is just fine. Because if they're making good money, that means the kitchen's producing. That means the prices are right. That just means everything along the way. But when that number goes down and there's no prosperity with the wait staff, there's problems. And that's no difference in the business community. The business community, I always take it back to the restaurant, but if the business community is making money and there's prosperity in their growth, that means you're hiring employees. If you're hiring employees, that means you're paying out salaries. If you're paying out salaries, that means families are going out to eat. And if they're going out to eat, then you know what? That means times are good. So I'm a big believer that we got to hold these guys accountable. I really appreciate the Senate President Designate's position he's taken, but we can't slow down. On the workers' comp front, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep talking a second.
That's all right.
On the
yeah.
workers' comp front,
By the way, on assignment of benefits, and you've talked to me about how it's your probably your top legislative priority for this year. So the president and CEO of Citizens just announced that virtually all Citizens policyholders are going to see their rates go up because of abuse of the assignment of benefits process. And in fact, the insurance commissioner, David Altmeyer, who you're one of his bosses, announced that the average claim that involves an assignment of benefit to a third party other than direct relationship to collect from your insurer, what you really need, as opposed to just contingent fees for jacking up, it increases the claim by an average of 85%. So all consumers
will feel the pain.
All consumers
Everyone.
feel the pain, and business is the biggest consumer of insurance. So yeah, thank you. And then obviously workers' comp is critical to every one of our employers.
Well, and so my fear is we've had 3 rate sessions with workers' comp, and rates have gone down 3 periods in a row. To me, that is a false narrative that we don't need to get comfortable with. And I guarantee the legislature will get comfortable with that as we try to advocate for any type of, I know Danny Burgess is chomping at the bit to have a workers' comp solution put into play. But, the legislature will get comfortable saying, well, God, the rates have dropped, the rates have dropped, the rates have dropped. And, the one group out there that is monitoring that more than anybody, the plaintiffs bar just sees a opportunity for an industry to get revived. They really do. So, I think, look, I've had employees at Captain Harrison's restaurant that I have gone to their hearings with them, advocating on their behalf against the insurance carrier, okay, where my employee was getting the runaround when I saw them get injured. So I've seen both sides of the equation, but I can't stand abuse. I can't stand waste. I can't stand fraud. I've got those same employees also that I've watched them game the system and take advantage of the workers' comp coverage they've got because they've been educated how to get a settlement without having to hire an attorney, or they just know they can get a big one with one. So I can get on a soapbox about that.
No, and we're grateful for your leadership and your understanding. And I've got about 2 minutes to wrap this up. I know we're going to see you at the general reception in a little bit. The last thing I'll say is that Jeff Atwater was particularly proud, had some great slides on the health of Florida's credit rating and bond rating. Not something the average Floridian votes because of. So there are some statewide officials, candidates running, suggesting a corporate income tax will be the solution to all sorts of issues, education and transportation. And yet I note that states that have high corporate income taxes, Illinois, Connecticut, New York, Illinois, or New Jersey, have the worst bond ratings by and large. So we are very healthy in terms of how financial markets view the way we treat our budget. And some people are suggesting a corporate income tax might be part of the be-all and end-all of our challenges. And your last thoughts, as I'm told I need to wrap up for our next guest.
First time in the history of the state of Florida, we've got AAA bond rating by all 3 major credit rating agencies. We've paid down $10 billion of state debt over the last 8 years under Governor Scott's leadership. He's the first governor that's paid down a single dollar of state debt since Bob Martinez was governor, so over a 20-year span. So all of that, our fiscal stewardship, our attractiveness, our tax environment right here has allowed us to go out and borrow money cheaper than anybody else. We're the number one fiscally rated state in the union, and it can change in an instant. It's so easy to go reflect on 2006 and how white hot the state's economy was, and $6.5 billion in reserves that time. And then you fast forward to 2009, just 3 years later, the economy had gone in the tank and reserves were gobbled up to down to $900 million, the same budget. It is so wicked how quick it can turn on you. But I get, I've inherited a really, really fine state to be CFO in. And I'll be dogged if I'm gonna allow this thing to, lose its way on my watch. There's just too much opportunity. And I keep on reminding myself, I got 2 little boys, and all I wanna do is make sure I don't screw it up for them, So it's, y'all have been nothing but a champion in my corner since ever been in the legislature. And thank y'all for being such a super supporter of mine.
Yeah. Jimmy, great to see you. Thank you so much.